He's suggesting he was unaware that they used the Logan Act to prosecute Flynn and it was Joe Biden's idea. How does everybody in America know that but the investigative entity that was actually investigating Mike Flynn because of the Logan Act and its former boss, Andy McCabe? How does everybody know that but him? So Ted Cruz is savage. I mean that as a compliment. He is, listen, this guy is an incredible debater. He was on a debate team. He's an unbelievable litigator, a lawyer, and he's just smarter than most people. Him and Mike Lee, I would put up at the top of the totem pole of legal minds in the Senate who you just, and listen, whether you like them, I'm obviously a big fan of both, but some, listen, liberals obviously don't like them. And the reason they don't like them is because they're just smarter than them. You can't deny their legal genius. And the fact that they have litigation skills, you just can't beat. Your IQ isn't smart enough, especially when you're a dunce like former deputy director of the FBI, Andy McCabe, who insiders tell me it was a total toolbox. You want to hear a story? I got this from the top of the of the old food chain. So a guy calls me a little while. I'm not going to say his name, obviously. He worked with Andy McCabe for decades. So Andrew McCabe's spouse is I believe a doctor or something like that, and they have money, I guess. So apparently McCabe used to run around and drive his fancy car into the FBI office and brag to people that his FBI salary, he didn't even need it. Like, I don't even need that. That's like chump money, I throw that in there. That's my tips in a restaurant, whatever this way. That he was that much of an egomaniac. And he also told me that Andy McCabe, former deputy director of the FBI, the guy who was in charge of the whole Spygate operation on Trump, who was running the whole thing, right? I also heard about him that they called him, he was a briefer, which if you're a police officer listening or a federal agent, I got to tell you, it's one of the worst insults that can be lobbed your way. You know what a briefer is? It's a Fed or a police officer who's never done actual police work, but makes it to the top of the managerial ranks because he's just good at briefing people. He never actually does anything, or she. Listen, all you police officers out there, you know who I'm talking about. You know exactly who I'm talking about. We've all know that guy, that guy. There's that guy. And everybody hates him because he's never done anything. But somehow he's an assistant director or a deputy assistant director. Believe me, we had, sadly, a lot of them in my prior line of work. Andy McCabe was a briefer. The guy never did anything. Was never out there chasing down shoe leather style bank robbers and is working his way up the rank. He was a briefer. This is what I hear from them. I don't know him. I have never worked in the FBI. I was a Secret Service agent. No idea. I'm telling you, the guy who knew him, those are the exact words. This guy never did a damn thing of street work. And you can tell because he's a dunce. And street cops are the smartest guys I've ever met. I told you, when I was a young rookie with the Secret Service interviewing this bad guy, I can't crack this guy for nothing. I'd only been on the job out of the training academy for like 6 months. I'm interviewing this guy, and he will not give up the goodies. It was a counterfeit case. This old Nassau County detective comes in. Grizzled guy, huge guy, like 6'5", jacked, but he was like in his 50s. He comes in, he goes, "You want me to interview him? I got this." And I got to tell you, folks, I was like, I used to be a cop in New York City, and I was like, it's a police officer. I can handle it. I'm a federal agent, right? But I said, I'll let this guy go. He walked in there. I signed him. He walks in there with I call him potato chip guy to this day. Walks in there with the potato chips, a bag of the old Wise potato chips. Remember this? Walks in, puts his feet up on the desk, eats his potato chips, talking to the guy. You know what? 20 minutes later, I had a full confession. I'm like, this guy's the greatest guy ever. Because street cops are smart. Because they're smart. They've been around. Not Andy McCabe. He's a briefer. So here's what I mean right here. Ted Cruz, experienced litigator, absolutely savages this idiot, Andy McCabe. They had a hearing yesterday about the whole Spygate scandal and the targeting of Mike Flynn. And I want you to listen very specifically here, how he nails Andy McCabe to the wall on why former three-star general Mike Flynn, was prosecuted and why the Logan Act was used. Remember the Logan Act? You know what that is? You're not allowed to talk to foreign leaders if you're not a representative of the United States, if you're trying to advance some, cause. You're not allowed to work with foreign leaders at all, according to the Logan Act. It's unconstitutional. It's BS. It's never been successfully prosecuted. But notice how Andy McCabe, Ted Cruz sniffed something out. McCabe won't answer the question. Check this out.
Our feeling at that time was that we had found very little if any, incriminating evidence about General Flynn, until, of course, we found potentially very incriminating evidence about him.
Are you referring to the Logan Act theory?
No, sir. I'm referring to the fact that we uncovered that General Flynn was having the sort of direct contact with the government of Russia that we were looking for in all of the first 4 cases of Crossfire Hurricane.
Did you support using the Logan Act as a basis to go after General Flynn?
The Logan Act was not used as a basis to go after General Flynn. We opened the case.
You're aware of the White House meeting where the notes show that Vice President Biden at the time directly suggested using the Logan Act to go after General Flynn?
I'm not aware of that.
You're not aware of that.
He's not aware of that. Just to be crystal clear, this is the former deputy director of the FBI who thinks he's like a field marshal, was running this whole case against Flynn. He's suggesting he was unaware that they used the Logan Act to prosecute Flynn and it was Joe Biden's idea. How does everybody in America know that but the investigative entity that was actually investigating Mike Flynn because of the Logan Act and its former boss, Andy McCabe? How does everybody know that but him?
You just heard Dan Bongino.